What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well on this Sunday. I know, I know, the Seahawks start in about an hour. I know that if you are watching this video, you are probably pretty locked in on the Seahawks, but I do owe you guys a Mariners video before tonight. And I may as well do it now before the game because it really wouldn't make sense to do it after the game. So, I'm going to just go ahead and do the Mariners video now. I would have preferred to do it yesterday, but when you're sick, it's hard to motivate yourself to do anything. Normally, I would have done several more videos than I actually did this week, but when you're sick, man, you just don't want to do anything but sleep. So I'm going to go ahead and do it now. And an hour from now, I assure you, I will be locked in on the Seahawks until we get to later tonight with the Mariners game. So Mariners, Blue Jays, let's talk about it for a little bit here. First, though, let's take 60 seconds to tell you about Sleeper. All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you guys about Sleeper. I'll tell you a little secret as well. It's more than just a platform for fantasy leagues. This year, millions of users have enjoyed playing fantasy sports on Sleeper, but there's so much more to it. You have live stats, real-time updates of all stats. You have a news feed with lightning-fast updates on players and teams, and a real-time chat where you can engage with other users about plays, performances, games, all kinds of stuff during the sports season. So download Sleeper, experience it for yourself, and don't forget to use my promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit, and pair that with their new promo that will give you a free $20 entry, no deposit needed. So you can use both of those promos. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and going. So check out Sleeper today and use those promos. All right, welcome back. So Seattle has advanced to the championship series and will be taking on the Blue Jays starting later tonight. First couple games are in Toronto, swings to Seattle. You guys know the drill. So let's talk about this series a little bit. It's a little bit hard to talk about this one, I think, because the home stadiums for these two teams are so radically different that it's really hard to judge. Like, if you take a look at Toronto's pitching staff, it really hasn't been that impressive so far this year, but they play in that stadium in Toronto for half their games, so it's really hard to judge them the same way you would judge the Mariners pitchers, because it's so much harder to hit in T-Mobile than it is in Rogers Center. Of course, I know what the frickin' Toronto Stadium is called. What am I talking about? But yeah, it's just much easier to hit at the Rogers Center, so it's hard to really judge. And because of that, it's really hard to compare these teams side by side. Obviously, the Blue Jays were the top AL team during the regular season. I know that the Pythagorean win theorem had the Pythagorean win formula, or whatever the heck it's called, had them as having a much better record than they actually should have had. They actually had them at like an 88 win team that won 94. So take that for what you will. But you look at their pitching staff, and first of all, it's pretty radically different than what we're going to get in this series. So it's really hard to judge just on that front. Like, you've got Gaussman, right? Gaussman's going to pitch. But then you're talking about probably Shane Bieber, who did not throw that many innings for the Blue Jays this year. And then the other guy they're probably going to be using, whose name I always forget. He barely threw it all for them this year. I think he had like 14 regular season innings. I'm spacing on the name right now. I'm spacing on a lot of things right now because my mind is still fogged up, but you guys will know who I'm talking about. The other likely top three pitcher for the Blue Jays in this series. And then you have Barrios, who has been injured. Don't know if he's going to pitch this series or not. He's been okay. But again, when you have these games in the Rogers Center, a lot of these balls that just fly out short of the warning track are going to get out of the are going to get over the wall. So yes, we're probably going to be able to do some damage against Toronto's pitching, but their hitters are probably going to be able to do damage on us that you didn't see in that Detroit series. Same goes for their bullpen. Really, really hard to judge because they play in that stadium for half their games. It's a pretty good bullpen. I don't think there's anything too radically amazing about it. It's certainly better than ours right now because our bullpen is completely cooked and probably will be for the first game, if not the first 2 games of this series after what we went through a couple days ago. But it's it's just one of those things where comparing these two teams apples to apples is really, really difficult to do. And trying to do it, yeah, I guess you would probably, in terms of pure talent, probably rather have the Blue Jays pitchers. But at the same time, who knows what these guys are going to actually do? Because again, it's actually kind of crazy how little action the Blue Jays have gotten from these guys. Like Gaussman's pitched a lot for them this year, but again, Bieber and the other guy, not a lot of action for Toronto, and the results, I mean, Bieber's results in Toronto have been fine, I guess. They haven't been extraordinary. This year is, of course, what I'm talking about. But the other guy, I'll remember the name right after this video is done. That's the annoying thing about it. And Barrios has been fine, but again, he's hurt. Who knows what kind of fire you're going to be playing with if you throw him out there in a playoff series when he's missed time. Now, this first game, the game that we're going to play later tonight, kind of feels like a punt because our pitchers are so incredibly spent that I don't even know what we really do. I figure we use Bryce Miller as much as we can, then we use Emerson Hancock as much as we can, and then we hope there's like 1 inning left and we can go to probably Munoz. I mean, there was a day off between Game 5 and this game, but we're talking about trying to squeeze 8 innings out of 2 pretty, I don't even know if you can call them mediocre. Miller's obviously a lot better than he's looked so far this year, but he's still hurt. It's not like Miller's better now. Miller has been very, very substandard this year by his standards that he set last season, probably because of the injury, but he's still injured, so it's not like it's gotten better. And then you're trying to squeeze innings out of Hancock in Toronto against a Blue Jays lineup that admittedly hasn't been the tour de force I was expecting. Like, Vlad has been good, but I was actually surprised looking at Toronto's numbers this year, given that they play half their games in the Rogers Center. Would have thought their offense would have put up bigger numbers than they actually did, but Vlad has actually only hit like 23 home runs this year, regular season home runs. Like Julio has more. I think Rosarina has more home runs this year. Polanco, it actually surprised me. The guy to really be afraid of this year offensively for Toronto is Springer. He's been an absolute stone cold killer, and I'm terrified of him, just like I've been terrified of him for years because he was obviously in Houston and he was a bit of a Mariners killer there, and he's been, I mean, he's not really a Mariners killer this year. He's been an everybody killer because he is that good. But that's the guy who has really been knocking fear into the hearts of other teams' pitching staffs. Now, Bo Bichette looks like he's not going to play, which is significant. A really good shortstop for them. But they've been without him for a little while now. And they've muddled through fine without having him out there. So it's not like this team just lost him. I can't remember how long he's been out, but he's been out a while. But overall, I was looking at the numbers earlier today, and I was just like, or yesterday, and I was like, wow, this Toronto offense is not the juggernaut that I was anticipating, based purely on their name recognition. So I don't know. I could see this team. I can see this team going blow for blow with them. The big concern is how do we work things out with our pitching staff, given that we just played that 15-inning game in Game 5. You want Castillo to pitch at home because he's so much better at home than he is on the road. But can you afford to do that when Gilbert just threw, 35 pitches? Can you really start him in Game 2 3 days after that? I don't know. I don't think you can go to Kirby early because Kirby he didn't throw a ton of pitches, but he threw certainly enough pitches to be somebody that you don't want to be putting back out there immediately. And again, guys like Miller just haven't been that good. So we got to roll with it for this game. I guess the one silver lining here is that we're going to get Wu back at some point, but when? And is it going to be enough to bail this team out? Are we going to get Wu in game 3 so we can get him in game 7? Because if Wu goes game 3 and then a hypothetical game 7, okay, now you've got something. Now you're cooking things up a little bit here. And I think that's something that as a Mariners fan, you would feel pretty good about, because Wu should be rested. Of course, he is coming off an injury, but Wu's rested and he's been your best pitcher all year. You can count on getting quality innings out of those guys, or excuse me, that guy right now. But even with that, it's not like Wu's a guy who goes 8 innings or 9 innings pretty much ever. He's a 6-inning guy. This bullpen is exhausted. These guys are pitching almost every day. They're pitching multiple innings. Bizzardo is probably not far away from being just kind of cooked. Like, I would be very surprised if Bizzardo has more than a few more innings left in him for the season. Munoz, Brash, the bullpen being as thin as it's been this season has forced the Mariners to really lean on 4 guys out of the pen, and it's been brutal. So at some point, those guys are going to run out of gas. You don't have any other options. Caleb Ferguson's been a huge bust. Vargas isn't reliable at all. There's just no option. The best you can do out of the pen probably at this point, if these guys run out of gas, is swinging to maybe Hancock, and that's not a very good bet either. But of course, I say all this stuff, but sometimes it feels like it doesn't really matter in baseball, right? This team has beat Tarek Skubal 4 times this year, but then they lose to the Tigers at home in game 1 when the Tigers are basically making a bullpen start. So who the heck knows what's going to happen? Who the heck knows what to expect? Maybe it just doesn't really matter who you're going up against and how good they are. Maybe baseball really is just a completely random sport from day to day. All right, I'm going to get out of here. See you guys later. Go Mariners. Let's get it.